Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Monday Mensaje or Monday Message, which is our weekly energy forecast. Before I get started, I quickly want to let all of the Starful members know that I uploaded the June collective energy forecast as well as the June readings for each sign up on Starful. So you can go check those out. The messages were so phenomenal and detailed this month. I really hope you enjoy them. And if you aren't part of Starful yet, you can find out more about it as well as join on my website, The Glam Spirit. All the links you need are below. And yeah, it's just a page where I post more detailed messages. I do a monthly forecast, monthly messages for the signs. I do readings for every new and full moon, and we'll have some love messages coming up on there shortly too. So if that sounds like something you're into, it's only $4 a month, and you can, like I said, get more info on theglamspirit.com or just check the description box below. So I'm really excited to get into this week's energy forecast. If you were not a part of last week's message, maybe you might want to go skim through it, because this message definitely seems like a continuation of that larger forecast that we got last week. And if you did already listen to last week's message, you are good to go. So let's get into it. So this week, the cards that represent the energy for the week ahead are the Two of Wands, the Three of Cups, and then on the bottom we had the Queen of Cups. So I normally only take one and then I do the bottom, but two came out, so obviously I kept it. These cards are super different. I'm using the Dolly Tarot, which I will link below, and then you can go to my TikTok, also the Glam Spirit there, and check out what these cards look like if you want the visuals. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay. So the reason I said it might be a good idea for you to check out last week's message is because we were talking about, if you didn't listen, we were talking about how last week the universe was kind of saying, you are at, overall in your life, you might be at a fork in the road. Am I going to continue with what I guess, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call my old life, right? Are you going to continue with your old life and continue, moving forward on the path that you were on? Or are you going to, the other option is to continue heading into this new beginning and this new chapter that you were sort of, I guess, let's say, entertaining throughout as well as prior to eclipse season. So again, if you're new here, we talked a ton about eclipse season and how there were some fated events during that. And I feel like a lot of us, eclipse season now, we're finally out of it. Yay. But let's say that was for the last 6 weeks or so. Right. And so prior to that time, I think a lot of us were sort of maybe on the brink of entering a new chapter. A lot of us are experiencing so many changes in different areas of our lives. So if that sounds like you, just know that you're definitely not alone in that. And I feel like eclipse season, of course, right? Stereotypically came in and shook things up, in a major, major way. It was definitely sort of a roller coastery kind of energy for the last month and a half or so, right? And so I think that made a lot of us sort of pause where we were on that journey of moving forward in a different direction and starting a new chapter of our lives, right? It was we were just getting there, and then eclipse season kind of came in and just threw major wrenches in the whole thing. So now that we're out of that, last week's message talked a lot about which road are you going to take? Are you going to take the road that allows you to stay in the same life that you've been living prior to that season? Or are you actually going to go through with creating this new life for yourself? And I don't want to sit here and say that, one choice is better than the other. I think it's really dependent on so many variables like in your life, you know? But I do think that many of us are choosing to take this new path and head down this new road and start a new chapter, even though we don't really know where that may necessarily be leaning, and that's okay. So I'm explaining all of this because this week with the Two of Wands, this card is set up quite different than the Rider-Waite imagery. So like I said, you can head to my TikTok if you want to see what it looks like, but in a quick description, this character is the two wands here are kind of set up like a doorway, and she is literally about halfway stepped through that doorway. And through the doorway, you can see that there is like different scenery. There's like what looks like a town and like a beautiful seascape and like stunning imagery. And where she's stepping from is sort of, there really like isn't anything there. So it's sort of representing like literally stepping through to a new chapter. And I think that is really, like I said, representative of that decision we had to make. Because last week I was saying, you know, like you could be faced with the reminders of old comforts, revisiting things from your past, and the universe kind of showing you like, hey, this is your old life. Do you still want this? And like I said, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's going to be dependent on who you are, what you're going through, like where you are in your life, like the stuff that you have going on. But I do think that after eclipse season, maybe some of those things from your old life may be different than they once were. And so I was talking about like how old scenarios, people, places, things, and so on that used to make you happy and bring you comfort and you used to be excited about, like, may not give you that same feeling anymore. And that could be an indication that, yeah, you are ready to fully commit now to this new chapter. And I really do think that that happened for a reason, right? Because you don't want to just move forward in an entirely new direction in your life and not be 100% sure if that's what you want to do, right? Because things get complicated when you kind of like move forward and then, you know, take a bunch of steps back and then move forward again. And like, it can get confusing. And especially if there are like other people involved in these decisions that you're making, you want to make sure that you're being responsible with that, right? Like being responsible with, you know, the way that your decisions affect the people around you or the people that are also involved in these situations. So I think it was the universe's way of kind of being like, hey, I see that you're like ready to start this new life. Let's revisit the old one before you really make that decision so you can make an informed choice. So I feel like, you know, I know in my personal life, this was definitely, you know, resonant last week, like definitely faced with some old things. And yeah, I mean, not everything looks the way that it once did, right? So like I said, I don't want to make it seem like, you know, the right choice is always the new path, but I think for many of us, it is. And so I think that this is sort of what the universe is following up with this week as far as this Two of Wands character literally stepping into this new chapter, especially like with the imagery that Dolly chose for this card. And so if that sounds like you, if you were one of the people that was like, you know what, I see the old life that I lived. I think there was a lot of value there. I take XYZ from these experiences, these people, places, and things, like I said. And now I'm ready for the next stage, like the next phase of my life. And like I said, some stuff that went down during eclipse season, like lots of fated events, could have affected the way that you feel, right? So maybe you were feeling one way a couple months ago and now you're kind of feeling Totally different. What I want to say though is that next to this character, we do have this like skeletal creature, I guess let's call it. And the skeletal creature is next to the side of her that hasn't quite stepped through the doorway. Like I said, she's literally like in the middle of this doorway created by each of the Two of Wands. And so what I'm receiving from that is this week specifically, right? Like while you may have made up your mind of like which way you're going to go, which, like I said last week, which fork in the road are you going to take? You may have made up your mind about that, but it seems like there are still some loose ends that need to be tied up before you can fully move on and do that. So kind of see what comes up this week. That is one of those loose ends of your, let's call it your old life, before you like really fully commit to this new chapter. And for those of you that did choose, I just want to say, I feel like there's a large group here in this collective, like I call it like a pocket of the collective, right? We're all mirroring each other in this group. If you're listening, like you're probably listening along with other people that are going through similar experiences. That's just like how these messages from the universe work, right? So we're all definitely connected in some way. And so I think for a lot of this group listening, we did choose the new path. And then I think that there's a smaller group listening that is in a place in their life where they're not facing as many of these large changes. I sense that it's more like the way that you live life. So take that as it resonates. Like I said, there's a bigger group where I feel like this is like large career changes, relationship changes, could be even changes in where like you live, like location, like moving somewhere new, just truly starting over. And then I think there's a smaller group where you're kind of more set up in your life and really grateful and happy with the way things are, but it's more like a change in perspective of how you view the world, how you want to live your life, the kind of life experiences that you have. It could even be like you realizing that you haven't given enough time and energy into what truly like brings you joy and makes you happy, and spending time with the people that you really love. And I just get this sense that for this smaller group, it's more like what's really important to you in this stage of life. You know, are you going to continue going down the road that leads you to, I don't know, fulfill these obligations that you have, and then there's not really any time left for you? Or are you reworking the way you live your life in order to get more joy out of it, like a more favorable like quality of life, right? So again, if you're not someone who's experiencing these like major changes, I believe this for you is more like a perspective of how you want to live. So it's like you're stepping through a new chapter in like just a different way. I just feel like that was something, like a download I'm receiving that was super important to say. So I felt like it was worth taking the time to say that. Yeah. So for everybody listening, I feel like I want to make that distinction because what I'm about to say is going to apply to you differently dependent on which group you're in, right? But I do think what I'm receiving is like the skeletal creature, whatever group you're in, is representing that this week is going to allow you to tie up loose ends so you can fully step through and say, you know what, with informed decisions, I can really say like, yes, I am ready to emerge sort of like, I don't know, like a new version of yourself. I think so many of us are in this like transformative period, like I said, whether it's on a major or like more minor scale. And I think that there's some things we have to do to make that happen. And what I'm seeing from that though, because, you know, the Three of Cups is a wonderful card. You know, that was the other card that flew out. So I definitely kept it. It's a card of celebration. It's a card of reunions. It is really a good omen. And so if you've been feeling nervous about going down this new road or having this change of perspective about your life, know that there is going to be major blessings from the universe on the way as sort of like a reward for doing what your higher self, your soul, whatever it is that you believe in is calling you to do, right? I mean, this could literally also mean too, like for some of you listening, like I said, Three of Cups is about reunion. Some of you in this new phase could be reuniting with old friends, family members, other like special people in your life. And that could either be part of your loose ends you need to tie up, or it could be reuniting with them as this new version of you. And I think that there's much to be celebrated about that. I think after the last couple years, so many of us, like when we have gotten in touch with people before everything like happened, I think that all of us are sort of different now, and so it has been this experience of getting to know your friends again, getting to know family again. I think so many of us have emerged transformed, and even more so now that we are some way halfway through 2022. I can't really comprehend that because I feel like the year just started, and I feel like the energy of this year is just like lightning speed. But I think just even in this 6 months, like again, so many of us have changed, like another rebirth, you know what I mean? And so this is a sign too, like what I'm receiving now is in this next chapter, in this new stage, you are going to have to sort of reintroduce yourself to those who used to know you really well, or people that were really special to you in the past or in your present that maybe you've been a little bit distant from. And I think that there is going to be closer connections formed based off of you sharing this authenticity. So let's say you're somebody in your life that doesn't really have anybody to talk to like on the daily about like your spiritual experiences or following this journey of your soul's calling or whatever it is, your spiritual awakening, right? So many ways we could label it. This is like a major indication that the universe with this Three of Cups card is saying like, keep going. You are doing the right thing. Like if the decisions that you're making are making you happy, they feel good within you, like it feels right. There's really no other way to describe that you're going on the path other than just like it just feels right within you, right? Like that feeling of this feels good. That's your intuition. That's your higher self. Those are the guides in your life and the universe, whatever it is that you believe in. Telling you that you're doing the right thing, that you're going down the right path. And so while it may be sometimes difficult to place that at a higher level than the opinions of other people in your life, the universe is saying like, no. Keep going with what feels right. Keep going with where you feel like your soul or your inner self, higher self is leading you, because that's the right place, even if people in your life don't get it. Because not everybody is in a stage right now where they are focusing on transformation or going down a new path. Like you have to understand that when you receive advice and opinions from other people, they're bringing in their own life experiences, their own trauma, their own biases, and their old wounds that they haven't healed, and definitely bringing in their fears, their worries, their anxieties, their doubts, right? And so you have to be careful to not let those things from other people sway you and your opinions and what feels right to you. Because again, if you don't have anybody in your life that you can kind of share these inner feelings and intuitive callings with, it can kind of make you feel definitely alone and too crazy for following what you feel is right. Because a lot of times when we do start following what our soul feels like it's telling us to do, when we do start following our intuition and our higher self, it may lead you down like a super unconventional path and a super like non-traditional way of doing things, of living and of being. And not everybody in your life is going to be in a place to understand that. And that's okay, right? I'm just like really receiving this major message of like, don't let that sway you to go down an old path that doesn't feel right anymore, that doesn't feel comfortable anymore, and like play small because that's what other people in your life are comfortable with. A lot of times the things that people don't think they can do and the things that they're worried about, they also believe you can't do, right? And they're worried about those things for you. So you have to take a step back when I would be just, kind of, listen, like I'm a biased person to ask because I really am pretty private with like my life and the choices that I make for such reasons. But, I do think it's good, if you're looking for advice or need advice, to be able to have someone that you can bounce ideas off of. Just make sure it's someone who's more open-minded and really like has your own best interest at heart and isn't, and then like take what they have to say kind of with like a grain of salt, because if something feels right to you, go for it. You know what I mean? If it feels good and you're not like, I don't know, hurting someone in a way that, wouldn't be right, obviously, like then just go for it. Like this is like why you're feeling this way. And I want to remind you too, with this Two of Wands here, like again, wands are about passion. And so I've mentioned this in so many different weeks, but in case this is your first week, like, the people, places, and things, like I always joke, that you're passionate about is like where your soul's leading you, is where you're being pulled to for a reason. So even if things make a little bit less sense on paper right now, that's okay. I think it's a time that a lot of us are going to be called to tap more into our intuitive side. And like I said, that's where you end up with like what feels right, what feels good, what doesn't feel right, what kind of gives me like a weird, strange, uncomfortable, nagging feeling. That's also your intuition saying no. So the more you start listening to your intuition, the stronger the connection's going to become, and the more you're going to be able to separate your intuition from your anxiety, worries, doubts, and fears. Because too, you also need to learn like which voice is what. And so I think really like the main message here for the week is like, don't let anybody get in your way. Continue following your passions. Continue following the road that you've been on, even if people in your life don't really get it. And trust that your soul, your higher self, and the guides, ancestors, the universe, anything that you believe in of good in this world is leading you to where you need to be. So, and like I said, with this Three of Cups, what this path is going to be, I guess, like filled with, and like, I guess sort of like at the end of this journey, is like major rewards, major celebration, major happiness. Like Three of Cups energy is just like celebrating life, being full of joy and just being happy. This like celebratory energy. And the way that these, usually in like the Rider-Waite deck, the Three of Cups is like three people, and they're like, what do you call? Like cheersing their glasses. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. And so it's that celebratory vibe. But the way that Dolly drew these three characters, they're actually, it's super intimate. They are holding one another, and there is a lot of water, which leads me to like the next major message I'm receiving. And so it's almost like through this journey, in reintroducing yourself to people in your life, in sort of reintroducing the world to this new you, and in following this path that intuitively feels good for you, not only are there going to be major rewards and celebrations and things to just be so happy about, but I truly feel like there are going to be connections. Like I said, either connections with, because, Three of Cups traditionally means reunions. So it could be like deepening connections with people from your past, in a more intimate, emotionally vulnerable way because of all the water that I'm seeing in this card. Or it could just mean making new connections with people that are more aligned with this new version of you and not having so many walls up because these people kind of get you. And so I think it's just the universe saying like, hey, yes, it is scary to walk a path of the unknown. Yes, it is unsettling to not know truly what may lie next for you, but know that it is going to be, if it feels right, then it's the right path, and then you're going to be rewarded in so many ways for choosing that over what may concretely seem right on paper but doesn't feel right within you, right? And also, I want to remind you too, like a great way to go about these things is like a combination of both. You know, like definitely use logic in your intuitive messages for sure. Like, you know, yeah. So what I'm leading into now that I'm receiving is I do want to remind us that at the bottom of the deck, our theme, if you will, is the Queen of Cups. And that, you know, the cups, for those of you that don't know, are all about emotions. And so when I see so much water in this Three of Cups card, and I'm just like, wow, there's definitely going to be an increase of emotional intimacy with the people in your life, either people you are reconnecting with or new people that kind of get this new you. But I do want to say Dolly has illustrated this Queen of Cups entirely differently than the Rider-Waite deck. This Queen of Cups is actually sort of disguised as a king. And so this is telling me a few different things that I'm receiving. I feel like the universe is saying, and again, this three, I'm combining here, like now this download is like Three of Cups, Queen of Cups kind of coming together here, is part of this new journey for you being more emotionally vulnerable. Have you been emotionally vulnerable in the past? Have you been in touch with your emotions in the past? And also, have you shared those emotions with others in the past? Because when I think of the queens versus the kings in tarot, a lot of times I see the queens as more representative of sharing. And so what I'm receiving now is this thing of like, in this new chapter, are you going to get real with your feelings? Are you going to tap into your real feelings about things so that, you know, because you can't share how you feel with other people if you haven't even processed it and revealed it and sat with it by yourself first, right? Like, how are you going to share something with someone if you don't even really know how you're feeling because you're avoiding it, distracting yourself, numbing yourself in whatever way you normally do? So I think what the universe is saying is, yes, this new path is going to be phenomenal. Yes, if you continue following what makes you passionate, what makes you feel full of passion, you are going in the right direction. However, new levels, new devils, like new chapters, new obstacles, new problems, right? So I think that while there's so much to be celebrated and sort of like a pat on the back from the universe of like, hell yeah, keep going, I think one of these new things we're going to have to face is like being more involved with your real feelings and evolving in that way. There might have been many other ways that you've evolved over the last, 6 months, year, 2 years, but this is definitely going to be an area of your life that's going to need some attention. And the more evolved you become, it only makes sense that you would be able to become more emotionally intelligent, more tapped into your feelings, and more connected to what I'm hearing right now, more connected to your heart space is what I just heard. And that makes a lot of sense because when I talk with clients about like manifestation and like, creating your best life for yourself. I'm sorry if you hear the clock in the background. I'm not in my usual recording space. But I think it's charming. Like the old school grandfather clock kind of thing. Okay. Anyway, can you tell I have ADD? So I think that, what was I saying? Okay, clients, right. When I talk with clients about manifestation and like co-creating with the universe, like creating your best life, like the life of your dreams, and really like knowing that's attainable and like you can have that and how to do it and everything, often what I end up talking to them about is like so much of manifestation is actually like tapping into your heart chakra, tapping into your heart space. The best way to manifest anything is to open your heart and use love. And so I think that's like the key thing that's been missing for so many people is trying to live a life they're really happy with, trying to feel really fulfilled in multiple areas of their life, but they're not in touch with their heart. They're not in touch with their emotions. They're not in touch with their heart space or how they feel truly about anything. And I'm not saying that there aren't good reasons for that. I mean, like I have mentioned for those of you who've been listening for a while, like vulnerability and sharing my own emotions is absolutely something myself that I'm working on, which is how I'm able to help other people, right? Like you end up a lot of times in life helping people with lessons that you've had to learn the hard way, right? And then you kind of help people learn with more like cheat codes that you had to, you acquired, but you did it the long way. That's kind of where I'm at now. And so I think that the universe is saying like, hey, reminder to live the life of your dreams, to really be successful in this next chapter, you're going to have to get real with your feelings. That's a lot of processing and connecting to this skeletal figure we were talking about earlier. Processing some of these feelings could be part of what is needed before you can fully step through this Two of Wands doorway. So this is a week to get real with your feelings, like what's weighing on you, what's on your mind in a good or not so great way, what feels really heavy right now that you're carrying. And journaling is a great way to kind of like get these things out, whether you're like want to journal with like a real notebook and pen or just like type something up in your notes app about how you're feeling about something. I just feel like that stream of consciousness, like that flow in writing can really kind of like let you get things out that maybe you didn't even know were in there. You're kind of just like typing or writing and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I can't believe like the connections that I'm making. So this is definitely a week to get into the feels, like what's on your mind? How are you feeling? Do you have walls up? Have you had walls up in the past, in this past chapter? Because part of what you need to let go of, probably, I'm assuming here, is those walls. And again, when I'm receiving this download about the skeletal creature, also representing that, like what are you shedding in this final phase of tying up your loose ends in this old chapter? What habits and mindsets, ways of doing things, ways of viewing yourself, ways of viewing the world, are you ready to let go of, or do you need to let go of? This is like a time to get super, super honest with yourself, because if you're not being fully honest with yourself and about how you feel as well, like you're only doing yourself a disservice, because you need clarity in order to like move forward and be successful. I'm not saying any of this is easy, right? Like the reason we have walls up is because we've experienced pain. We've been hurt. We have old wounds that we still need to heal or are healing. And know that none of this healing is linear. You may feel so much more like better about something and like you've put it to rest, and then something comes up a month later and you're like, oh shit, like, damn, I really thought I healed that, or like was way more past it. So once you reach a certain level of acceptance about something, like don't beat yourself up about, feeling it again later on. It's okay. Like things come up, right? Like don't judge yourself for how you feel. That is like a huge, huge key in facing a lot of these old emotions, old wounds that we have to face in order to truly go into this next phase. And I do want to say too, that shedding all of this is what's necessary in order to enter this new chapter lighter. I talked, I think last week or the week before that, about like the burdens and old emotions and situations and things you're upset about in your life kind of being like rocks in like a backpack you're carrying. So it's like keep emptying your backpack essentially in order to go on this new journey. You want room for the new things you're going to encounter, and you want to, go down this road feeling as light as possible. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say before we wrap up this portion of Monday Mensaje, before we get into the messages for the signs, is again this last emphasis on this Queen of Cups, because what I'm hearing is take off your mask. is like what I just heard. And again, it's because this Queen of Cups is like illustrated so differently by Dolly that it looks like she's wearing a disguise. And so what feelings maybe have you been masking? Like I don't know if that's like you pushing something. It's going to be different for everyone, so take it as it resonates. But are you pushing something down? Or I feel like for some of you, it's feeling something or a certain way about something, but not expressing it. So it's like, maybe there is either someone you need to tell how you're feeling, or you need to be honest with yourself about how you're feeling in order to tell them, or maybe it's just something you need to be honest with yourself about, like how you're feeling. So take off the masks, okay? This is time, again, they're really stressing this idea of being vulnerable. And like, listen, I told you, like, I'm still working on that. Like, that is tough for me sometimes, especially like in situations where you don't feel emotionally safe. But the only way you're going to ever feel emotionally safe with certain people or in certain situations is to start putting yourself out there. Because what I'm receiving now is like maybe the person that you're masking these feelings from has feelings they're also masking, you know? So it's like someone has to break that wall first. Someone has to be like, listen, this is how I'm feeling. And you don't know what the other person's going to say, whether this is like a family member, a friend, a romantic scenario. Like someone has to break through first, be honest first, share their feelings first, and say like, hey, like this is what's going on. And you never know like what you're going to get from that, right? Like, yes, of course, be prepared for for whatever outcome, right? Like, I wouldn't have any expectations in these scenarios. It's just like, know that you're strong enough to make it through whatever the outcome is. That's really all you can do. And I feel for some of you specifically, like I have such an intense feeling in my chest of like, just like you're going to explode if you don't like say what it is you want to say. And so I feel like if you feel that strongly about whatever it is, I feel like this for a lot of you is going to be a situation where the response that you receive is probably going to be more than you expected because you don't know how much someone else is holding in too. You know, like maybe they have a lot to say, but they weren't sure how to go about it or if you were ready to hear it or whatever it is. So be brave. One of my favorite affirmations is I choose courage in the face of fear. Another one that I love is I choose love in the face of fear. And so know that these relationships you have with people, again, whoever this is, whatever kind of scenario this relates to in your life, like these connections with people are more important than our fears. Don't let fear stop you from living the life that you really want to live. It's like the number one thing. Like when I talk to clients, it's the number one thing that stops people from living the life of their dreams. One is like the lack of belief that that's possible, which just makes me so sad, but I definitely understand where that comes from. And the second one is fear. Fear about what everyone else is going to think, fear about their capability, or fear that like what they want isn't possible. And so I challenge you to add, I choose courage in the face of fear to your affirmations, just every morning, like have a couple really positive, strong things you tell yourself. And I guarantee you it will change the way you subconsciously view your life. So I hope that, everybody is doing okay. Like, I know that, like, for me, there's definitely been, and everyone I know, basically, there's been some very large emotional things coming up for us in, like, multiple areas of our lives. And I just, like, send everyone peace and healing. Like, I really do. It's really been a very roller coastery, rocky, challenging time. And I really do have hope that if you can choose the courageous path of following your intuition, following your passion, what feels right, that like at the end of that road and the journey itself is going to lead you to so much happiness. So just like have faith in that. A lot of times these challenges come right before the big payoff because it's a test of like your faith and your hope. Like, do you really have faith that, everything that you believe to be true is true, you know? It's like that faith can't be tested when everything is wonderful, right? And I think that for me specifically, that's been like a major theme, is like the more I keep just really following what I know to be true in my heart and my soul, even when there's no proof of this in my reality, I feel like eventually that proof shows up. Sometimes what you know in your heart and soul and the messages you receive from the universe are just ahead of where your actual physical reality is. And that's why that is the, like, I guess the encouragement to follow that voice and that feeling inside of you is because that is usually ahead of where your everyday reality is. So just keep choosing to follow that path, and I promise your 3D, your physical reality is going to catch up. I'm like definitely seeing that in my own life right now, and I know for some other people, they're definitely seeing now, like, whoa, the life that I have been daydreaming about, manifesting, the life that I've been hoping for by following my passion and intuition is starting to actually be created in my real reality now, because it just takes a little time to catch up, you know? So I hope that you enjoyed some of the messages there, or I guess, you know, could resonate with them, or that they helped you. If anything at all that I've said, it can help even one person, it's worth putting it out there, you know? So I would super appreciate if you like this video, because it like lets more people see it, and then maybe somebody gets to hear messages that could really help them this week. All right, so let's get into our messages for the signs. And again, just reminder, June energy forecast and June messages for the signs are up on Starful. So these are going to be more, this is from the moon deck, so I'll link it below. A wonderful, beautiful deck created by some like magnificent women. So I'll link it below. Okay, so let's get into it. I will be putting timestamps below, so you can like look at your chapter and see sun, moon, and rising and go from there. But we are going to start with Pisces. I'm all shuffled and ready to go, and let's just see what comes up. Okay, Pisces. Your card says, I honor the natural process of growth and transformation. I mean, seriously, does this not go phenomenally with this week's message? Come on, you can't make this stuff up. So again, the illustration of this card is beautiful. It is a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. And so again, so much of what we talked about this week really resonates with this. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to transform. Do not rush this process. Do not beat yourself up for your healing, you know, being or not being linear. Do not judge the feelings that come up, the fears that come up, the truth that you're really going to be facing right now, because all of this is necessary for you at this stage of your development, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and in your life as a whole. So, like it says, honor this natural process of growth and transformation. Allow yourself to feel your feelings, flow with life, flow with what feels good. Do not cling to old versions of you that don't resonate anymore. There is never going to be a final version. You always get to evolve and co-create who you are and your life with the universe. So just let yourself do it. Let yourself follow a path that feels good and feels right. Like I said, even if it doesn't look to make sense on paper, because your soul and your higher self and your intuitive feelings know the way, right? They're always going to lead you in the right direction. So Pisces, let yourself grow. Let yourself transform, judgment free, right? And make sure to honor yourself by setting boundaries with other people that may not agree with where you are in your life right now. Because again, you have to live with the decisions that you make, nobody else. Okay, Aries. I am courageous, steady, and strong. That would be like a wonderful affirmation for you, Aries. That was similar to what I was talking about. Be courageous. in going into this new chapter, Aries. You are so strong. Don't forget that. You may have been through a really rocky time, is what I'm hearing. And so maybe you need to remember the strength that lies within you. You are full of strength. Tap into this strength. And I'm hearing now, like, make sure that you make time to rest your body, to rest your mind. You may be emotionally, physically, mentally exhausted right now. And if so, know that you're not going to be able to be your most strong, courageous self if you haven't nurtured yourself first. So this is a week for self-care, putting yourself first, and definitely returning to center, recharging in a way that lets you move into the next few weeks feeling lit up again, feeling fired up again. You're not going to, your fire needs rest at times. Like, you need to regain your spark. So take it easy this week and remember how courageous you really are. Go after this life that you want, knowing that it truly is possible. And maybe if you've needed a sign of that, I hope that, this provided that for you. Taurus, there is medicine in my shadow. So Taurus, this is a great week for some shadow work. This is a great week this sounds a lot like the part of the message where I said we were like reevaluating old things, old skeletons in the closet, old feelings, old wounds that we kind of pushed down or haven't been really addressing. So Taurus, this is a good week to really let yourself feel it. In small doses, let it come up. Face some things that maybe you've been distracting from or pushing down some, I'm hearing fears and anxieties. So it's like if you don't face and be honest with yourself about what your fears and anxieties are, they can actually control way more of your life because they're subconsciously controlling the decisions that you might make and the feelings that you have. So also too, this is a good week to say, like, who am I now, right? Like, who am I emerging as now? Are there parts of me that I've been too harsh to judge? Are there parts of me that need my love and my acceptance and my forgiveness instead of my judgment, instead of my regret? So look into that. What parts of yourself have you denied and ignored and wanted to abandon and reject that really just need your acceptance, your love, and your integration? So there are light sides to all of the shadows within you that you may not want to integrate. And so see where those shadows are born from. Give yourself grace, forgive yourself, and accept yourself fully, because that is the key to fully emerging from this cocoon period that you may have been feeling you're in as your newest, most authentic self. Gemini, collaboration brings more sweetness into my life and into the world. This sounds to me like that 3 of Cups energy that I was talking about. So Geminis, this may be a week for you to spend some time with people who make you feel joy, who make you laugh, who you can just, like I said, reintroduce your new self to, relax and escape from the world with. Spend time with these people. This is going to heal you in a way that I think you really haven't even quite realized that you needed. Recharge your battery by being social, by being around other people. There could be perspectives that you're able to gather that you couldn't see yourself from what maybe someone else has to say. Also, too, I'm receiving now, if you work in some sort of field where you're going to be working with other people, like, this is a great, great week for that. So that may also be something that is on the horizon for you. Know with this message that you're going to be super successful in this collaboration, and it could bring you something amazing. There's an emphasis here, too, on the fact that something that you might be able to create with someone else is going to be something so much more unique because of the, because of the influence of you and the other person, you know what I mean? So it could end up being something so beautiful because it's part of you, it's part of them. And I think that there's just like something born of that that is so special. So good luck with that. Okay, Cancer. I allow stillness to heal and reveal. So Cancers, this is a great week for you to, just as it says, allow stillness into your life. Slow down, make some time to nurture yourself, make some time to return to center, especially if you're coming off of a period that was maybe physically and or emotionally taxing. And with this heal and reveal, what I'm hearing from that is, instead of trying to possibly influence or create the outcomes that you want in certain scenarios, this is a good week to kind of see just how things unfold on their own, how they happen naturally. Because something that you try to control could end up throwing like a wrench in the mix that doesn't need to be there. So, I feel like I'm hearing now a truth coming to you. So maybe there's like truth coming that's going to like change your perspective on something or change something in the scenarios that I think that maybe you've been healing from, or some things that are weighing on you. So instead of focusing your attention outward, this is a really great week to focus your attention inwards. Heal yourself, put yourself first, nurture yourself. Self-care is going to be really important. What makes you feel whole, renewed, recharged? And kind of keep an eye on how everything else is unfolding. And I think by the end of the week, you're going to have some newfound confidence is what I'm hearing. I feel like you'll know how that resonates for you, or just an overall clearer perspective on everything. Sometimes we can't get that until we kind of take a step back and see what happens around us. Leo, now is the time to integrate all that I have gathered. This again, so spot on with this week's message. You've learned so much, Leos listening, over the past however long it's been that you've been in this rebirth. You have learned some lessons that I'm hearing. Some of them were pretty difficult. You could still be in the process of learning and seeking the lesson in whatever it is that you've been in, whatever you've been experiencing. And now as you're stepping into this new chapter, it's time to turn those lessons into wisdom that's going to help you in this next phase. And this is a reminder too, they're telling me, of the whole idea that things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you, right? So you can learn, so you can grow, and that's where this wisdom comes from. So it's time, Leos, to step forward and to emerge as your newest self with everything that you've gathered in these previous chapters, right? Also, what I'm hearing from this too is integrating different parts of yourself that maybe have been in competition with each other, or integrating parts of yourself that you see as less than worthy. So you may want to take a look at the parts of you that maybe you've been pushing down, rejecting. And again, like I think it was Gemini, I don't know, one of the other signs I was just talking to. It's that same idea of showing those parts of you that you want to turn away love and acceptance, and instead of rejection, instead of abandonment, right? So love yourself fully, integrate all parts of you, and see the value in all parts of you. And when you show yourself love and forgiveness and acceptance, no matter what part of you that it is that you're trying to distance yourself from, that's where real deep healing happens. So give yourself some grace and be kind to yourself. Virgos, I have unlimited potential and claim my purpose. All I need is within me. Oh, this is phenomenal, Virgos, especially combined with this week's message. Like, you're stepping into this new phase with this reminder. And I think what I'm sensing from what I'm feeling within myself right now is that this message is coming to you because maybe you've needed a reminder of that. It seems like maybe a group of you listening hasn't really been feeling like you do have unlimited potential. There's a group here too listening that may have found recent clarity about their purpose. And so if that's you, this is your sign, like, hey, yeah, you're on the right track. And then I feel like there are some Virgos that kind of maybe been feeling like they've been second guessing themselves and like, oh, things were working out and now I have all these roadblocks. Like, no. Again, things are happening for you, not to you. They're happening for you to learn, for you to grow. And once you really start seeing the lessons in those things, feel your feelings, and then release them, let them go. Don't live in that woe is me place, right? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is this trying to show me and teach me? Because that is how you heal enough to be able to see your unlimited potential, right? You need to heal your wounds around worthiness, perhaps, self-worth. Maybe that's something that you want to look into. Maybe that's part of those loose ends that you need to be tying up in the next couple weeks. And this reminder too, that all you need is already within yourself. You have the power, the strength, the knowledge, the courage. It's about tapping into it and believing in yourself. And again, I think this is like going to be a shadow work heavy week for everybody because, again, I'm receiving this message of like all of the parts of you that have felt unworthy, that you wanted to rid yourself of and distance yourself from and deny, are the parts of yourself that need your love and acceptance the most. So take a look at how maybe you've been rejecting different parts of yourself, and instead how you can wrap those parts of you in love and acceptance, because all you have and all you need and everything that you need on this next phase of your journey is within you. So again, look to your own feelings and your own intuitive voice as far as moving ahead. You know the way. You just have to believe in yourself enough to really trust that. So I send you tons of peace and healing, Virgos. Okay, Libra, love and intimacy flow into my life effortlessly. Wow. That's really beautiful. So Libras, this could be a week where you are getting in touch with your feelings, which was so much a part of this week's message. So it's very like resonant with this week's energy as a whole. Allow love to flow into your life. Allow intimacy to flow into your life. And I love this word effortlessly that's used here, because that's really, I'm not saying relationships are effortless, but love really is. You either feel it or you don't. You feel those feelings within you. And this is like what I'm receiving now is like, don't stifle them. Don't push them down. Let them flow and bubble up within you, and feel how amazing it is to actually just let yourself feel it. So maybe there's Libras listening that have been like pushing their feelings, some sort of love or intimate feelings down, maybe trying to not face them because of the challenges that come with that, or some sort of fear surrounding love and intimacy. Definitely could be what I'm hearing now, some fear and challenges surrounding vulnerability, right? So that was, again, so much of what we talked about this week. And so it's like the universe coming in to say, hey, let love and intimacy flow into your life. Like, let it happen. Don't fight it. Don't fight the current of love that is trying to surround you right now. It's already there. Whether you deny it or not, it's there, right? And you can't really, I don't know, I feel like once you feel that way, you can't really change it, right? So how beautiful would it be for you to actually, instead of pushing it down, instead of running from it, instead of denying yourself that kind of happiness and bliss, how amazing would it be to let yourself feel it? To dive into it and just let it flow, let it happen. So again, I think a lot of this week's message really resonates with this. So Libra's listening, I send you so much peace and healing, because if you're receiving a message like this, it could mean that there have definitely been times where you haven't let love and intimacy flow into your life. So maybe you've had lots of walls up, or maybe you've tried to distance yourself from people. And I think the universe is challenging you with, what about the happiness that could, fill your heart if you just let it happen, right? Like, allow yourself to be intimately connected, vulnerable with people in your life that, one, deserve that from you, and two, could be reciprocating that energy, whether this is like family, friends, or a romantic situation. So let love and intimacy flow into your life, into your heart. And again, I think a great affirmation for you specifically is this: I choose courage in the face of fear. I choose love in the face of fear. And when you start knocking those walls down and start letting yourself feel the love within you and expressing that to people in your life that you really value, I really, truly, in my heart, believe that you are going to see such beautiful blessings and major changes in the way that you live your life and the way that your life unfolds around you. So put your guard down a little bit, Libras, okay? And just see what could happen if you let yourself feel all of the love inside you. Scorpios, my inner compass knows the way. Wow. Okay, this is exactly what we were talking about this week as well. Your own soul knows the way, Scorpios. The passion that you feel towards people, places, and things. The excitement, the interest you have in people, places, and things are not there just like by chance or coincidence. Those things are leading you. It's your higher self, your soul, the positive forces in your life, your ancestors. That's how they lead you. That's how you follow a path that is really authentic to the life that you want to live. So no matter what anybody says, other people's fears and doubts and opinions, anything like that, maybe your own fear and doubt, your own worry and anxiety, try to let those voices speak, don't judge them, but know that those are just one possible outcome. There are so many more beautiful outcomes that are also possible when you do follow the path that feels right, when you do follow your higher self and your soul and where it's leading you. So let love and passion and your higher self lead you. Like, your inner compass knows the way. So if you have been following it, keep going. And if you feel like you want to make this change now into really making your own decisions, being the leader of your own life, then hell yeah, do it. Congrats. That's an amazing place to be. Not everybody ever gets to that point. So celebrate that, And yeah, this is just, if you needed that major sign from the universe, you know what you're doing. You know the way. Keep going. Sagittarius. Healthy boundaries keep me centered and balanced. I love this. So again, Sagittarius, you need, like many of the signs this week, you need to take some time out to balance yourself, heal yourself, return to center. So ask yourself, what makes you feel whole? What makes you feel refreshed, recharged, renewed? What allows you to feel recalibrated? And boundaries may be part of what help you get there. Whether those boundaries are surrounding people in your life that you feel like, you need to kind of create boundaries with in order to live your best life. And don't feel guilty about doing that. And definitely don't feel guilty about enforcing those boundaries, right? So if there are things and people and things, weighing on you, and you could possibly create boundaries with others that allow you to function at like your highest ability, like do it, like do what's best for you. And for some of you, I think this is going to be boundaries of, like I was talking about earlier, like people sharing their opinions and their ideas and all these things with you, and maybe you didn't ask them, right? So it's like, hey, I appreciate where you're coming from, but like I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm at, and I'm really happy with where I am in my life. So again, this boundary coming up for so many people this week of like, know where people are coming from. Okay. A lot of times it's from a place of concern and care. However, the way that your soul is calling you to, and sometimes people just aren't going to get it. So if that's, this is your reminder, create boundaries with others so they know, like, I appreciate you, but I'm going to go my own way. And also these boundaries too, for some of you, I think is like, maybe you just need a little bit more alone time. So there's some people you have to kind of express that to, so they know, like, you know what? Yeah, like this person in my life needs some time to just rest and recharge in their own way. And the way that they do that might be different than the way I do that. And that's okay. So I think what's going to help you is this honesty when setting these boundaries, right? That way people know where you're coming from and they don't jump to conclusions that you feel or don't feel a certain way. So that I think will be super helpful. Aquarius. My home is a sacred space full of beauty, inspiration, and protection. So Aquarius is listening. Maybe this is a week where you kind of want to reevaluate, like, does the space that I live in feel authentic to me? Does it feel authentic to how I feel inside? Does it allow me to express myself the way that I feel like I want to? So this could be a good time to kind of go through your home decor or like the spaces in wherever you live and say, does this feel like me still? Should I kind of get rid of this? Or like, maybe I'd like to get this thing and maybe I'm more into that, and kind of just making your space feel good to you, right? Because it's supposed to be your soft place to land, and you want to do that in a place that feels authentic to you and how you really feel. So it may be time to do a little bit of redecorating. When I see this protection word here too, maybe for those of you that are, involved in your spiritual practices enough where you do sort of like protective, measures, spiritually, maybe this is your sign to kind of, recharge any sort of protective like amulets or protective, magic that you have around your home, or maybe that you need some in your home, and just really make your space feel good. You want to feel recharged and refreshed and renewed by your space. And sometimes all it takes is just like a couple little things that kind of make you feel like you. You don't have to go on like a whole redecorating spree, but maybe there's like a couple items. I'm hearing for some of you that some of these items maybe are passed down in your family or in your ancestral line. So I think maybe for some of you, maybe it's something that one of your ancestors had that you're maybe going to find and hang up, and that will make you feel more connected to them. Or maybe another family member like is going to give you something or something like that. So for some of you, I think it's going to be connected to ancestry. For others, based on just like what makes you feel like you. And when you walk into the space, you want to feel like, yes, this reflects who I am as a person, because I think that there's so much value in that, right? And being able to not only express yourself with your own body and the way you dress yourself and, the way that you are, but also your home. It's like an extension of you. So have fun with that. It's going to be exciting. And last but not least, Capricorn. My emotions move through cycles and connect me to my truth. Okay, Caps. Like I mentioned in the energy forecast for the week, this could be a week where you got to get in touch with some of those feelings. And I feel like I can roast Capricorns a little bit because I'm a Capricorn sun. Yeah, that's not always easy for us. So yeah, this is the week, Capricorn. Okay, like, can we get any more signs? All right. This is a week where we're getting in touch with our emotions. And I love this message here about emotions moving through cycles that connect you to your truth. So there's a bunch of different moon phases here, and I love the comparison whenever I see it of your emotions kind of moving through cycles like moon phases, right? There are times where you feel so full of like zest for life and happiness and peace and all these beautiful things, right? And to me, that's kind of like a full moon feeling. And then the new moon, that dark black moon, is sort of like resonates with me as like all of the possibilities, right? It could sometimes, I honestly feel very heavy during new moons. Like that darkness is sort of like reflected within me, and I kind of have to purge some of the feelings that come up during that. It can be a very emotional time for me, but it's also a blank canvas in a way. And as the moon grows fuller and fuller each day towards that full moon, it's like you get to create this canvas and create this beautiful art of what your life could be, right? And so I feel like it's kind of the same thing with our feelings. There are going to be good days where you're feeling phenomenal and on top of the world and ready to take on anything in your path. And then there are going to be days where you have to remind yourself of your strength and find courage within you that maybe feels a little bit distant. And so the first thing I want to say, Capricorns, is like, don't judge yourself for how you're doing a certain day. Don't judge yourself on the fact that your emotions aren't going to be linear. There could be days where you feel way better about something and then feel really hurt about it again after you thought you healed it. So give yourself grace. Don't judge yourself so much for how you feel. And I also, what I'm hearing is not judging yourself for the amount of feelings. There could be stuff coming up for you in the next couple of weeks that bring out these big, big waves of feelings. And I think that's more of a blessing than a curse, honestly, because our capacity to feel deeply is where we get so much of our empathy from, which connects us to other people. And so it's like those big feelings and getting in touch with your emotions is really going to let you connect with others in your life. And I think connections with people in our lives are like the most valuable thing. You know, you can't buy that. That is just natural and like a blessing from the universe. So this is the week, Capricorn. Get in touch with your emotions. Find power in your emotions. Choose courage in the face of fear. Choose love in the face of fear. And don't be afraid to bear your truth. Don't be afraid to get a little vulnerable, because no matter the outcome of that, you're strong as hell and you're going to get through it. And there could be, like I mentioned earlier, better outcomes than you can imagine on the other side of you being so brave to be vulnerable. And last thing I want to say too, this whole thing about emotions connecting you to your truth, maybe you haven't really faced the truth about how you feel about certain things because you're not letting yourself feel it fully. So maybe some of that clarity you're seeking is going to come from you actually letting your feelings come up with no judgment and without trying to hold back or push them down. So let your feels come up this week. Let them bubble to the surface. And I think that those feelings, whether they're heavy, dense, or light and airy and beautiful, whatever it is, I think those feelings are really going to show you and illuminate for you major truths about you, how you feel this next chapter and the way forward. So I think there's going to be so much value that comes from being courageous enough to be vulnerable and to be brave and to feel your feelings and connect with others in an intimate way. I think that's phenomenal. So I hope everybody has a wonderful healing week ahead. It seems from everyone's messages like we're all going to be getting in touch with our feels, accepting the parts of ourselves that need it the most. And, you know, all of this is preparing us for the beauty that's coming our way. Truly, in my soul, I believe that all of these lessons, no matter how difficult that we're facing right now, are going to be the foundation that we build our new happiness on. I really, truly believe that. So I thank everyone for being here this week. I hope you'll subscribe and come back next week. Like this video if anything I said resonated. And if you're looking for like the monthly energy forecast and monthly messages for the signs, you can head to theglamspirit.com and click the Join Starful tab and see what June holds for you. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.